Hello everybody, welcome to my channel.
Julie Andrews is a legendary British actress, singer, and author, best known for her iconic roles in musical films and her extraordinary voice. Born on October 1, 1935, in Walton-on-Thames, Surrey, England, she began her performing career on stage as a child prodigy with a remarkable four-octave soprano voice. Early career Julie Andrews made her professional stage debut at the age of 12 and quickly rose to fame in London's West End. In the 1950s, she moved to Broadway and starred in major productions like The Boyfriend, 1954, My Fair Lady, 1956, as Eliza Doolittle, Camelot, 1960, as Queen Guinevere. Despite originating Eliza Doolittle on stage, she was famously passed over for the film adaptation, a decision that indirectly led to one of the most iconic moments of her career. Hollywood stardom. In 1964, Andrews starred as the magical nanny Mary Poppins in Disney's Mary Poppins, a role that won her the Academy Award for Best Actress. This was followed by another legendary performance as Maria von Trapp in The Sound of Music, 1965, one of the most beloved musicals of all time. These two roles cemented her status as a Hollywood star and cultural icon, beloved for her warmth, grace, and extraordinary singing talent. Later career. In the 1980s and beyond, Andrews expanded her repertoire with both comedic and dramatic roles. She worked with her husband, director Blake Edwards, in films like Victoria, 1982, which earned her another Oscar nomination. Unfortunately, a vocal surgery in the 1990s damaged her singing voice, but she remained active as an actress, writer, and narrator. In the 2000s, a new generation discovered her in roles like Queen Clarice Rinaldi in the Princess Diaries series, and as the voice of Queen Lillian in Shrek 2 and its sequels. Legacy. Julie Andrews is also a successful author of children's books and memoirs, including Home, a memoir of my early years, 2008, Homework, a memoir of my Hollywood years, 2019. She has received numerous awards, including Oscar, Golden Globes, Emmy Awards, Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award. Dame Commander of the Order of the British Empire, DBE. In 2000, influence. Julie Andrews is admired not only for her talent but also for her humility, intelligence, and lifelong dedication to the arts. Her work has inspired generations of performers and continues to bring joy to audiences around the world. A Star is Born. Julie Andrews was born Julia Elizabeth Wells in 1935 during a time of global unrest. Her early childhood was marked by hardship, including a strained family life and the outbreak of World War II. Despite this, her exceptional vocal talent emerged early. She was trained in classical singing by her stepfather, and by age 13, she performed in front of King George VI and Queen Elizabeth. Her natural gift, a crystal-clear soprano voice with astonishing range, soon led her to the stage, where she became Britain's youngest solo performer at the Royal Command Variety Performance. Face Mask. Broadway royalty. Julie's Broadway debut came in 1954 with The Boyfriend, but her true breakout came with My Fair Lady, 1956, playing Eliza Doolittle opposite Rex Harrison. The performance catapulted her into Broadway stardom. She followed this with Camelot, 1960, starring with Richard Burton. Despite her success on stage, when My Fair Lady was turned into a film, the lead role was given to Audrey Hepburn, leaving Andrews sidelined by Hollywood, temporarily. Clapperboard. Hollywood breakthrough. Mary Poppins and The Sound of Music. In a twist of fate, Walt Disney had seen her on stage and offered her the lead in Mary Poppins, 1964, her very first film. Andrews was nervous about transitioning to the screen, but she charmed audiences and critics alike. Her performance earned her Academy Award for Best Actress, Golden Globe, BAFTA. She followed it up with The Sound of Music, 1965, playing Maria von Trapp. It became one of the highest-grossing and most beloved films of all time, earning her international adoration and another Oscar nomination. These two films defined the golden era of musical cinema and made Andrews a household name. Face mask reinvention and growth throughout the 70s and 80s, Andrews resisted being typecast. With her husband, director Blake Edwards, she explored more mature and daring roles in films such as 10, 1979, S.O.B., 1981, Victor, Victoria, 1982, where she played a woman pretending to be a man pretending to be a woman, a complex, bold role that won critical acclaim and another Oscar nomination. These roles showed her range, comic timing, and willingness to challenge her own image. Mike voice loss and new beginnings in 1997. Andrews underwent throat surgery that tragically damaged her vocal cords, effectively ending her singing career. The loss was devastating, not only personally but professionally, as singing was central to her identity. However, Julie reinvented herself again, focusing on acting in family films, The Princess Diaries, Shrek, directing stage productions, writing. She co-authored over 30 children's books and memoirs. She continued to lend her voice to narration, including Netflix's Bridgerton, where her sharp and witty voice as Lady Whistledown captivated a new generation. Crown honors and legacy. Julie Andrews has received nearly every major accolade in entertainment. Academy Award, Golden Globes, Emmy Awards, Grammy Lifetime Achievement, Screen Actors Guild Lifetime Achievement Award, AFI Lifetime Achievement Award, 2022, Dame Commander, DBE, by Queen Elizabeth II in 2000. She's been praised not only for her immense talent, but for her dignity, kindness, and resilience. Dizzy cultural impact. Julie Andrews is more than a performer. She is a symbol of grace, perseverance, and timeless charm. Her performances continue to enchant millions, and her life story is one of constant reinvention in the face of success and setback. She remains a beloved figure across generations. A radiant Mary Poppins, a spirited Maria, a queenly Clarice, and always a class act. Personal life and inner strength. Julie Andrews married set designer Tony Walton in 1959. They had a daughter, Emma Walton Hamilton, who would later become her frequent writing partner in children's books. After their divorce in 1967, Julie married director Blake Edwards, best known for The Pink Panther and Breakfast at Tiffany's. Their marriage lasted 41 years, until his death in 2010, a rare and enduring love in Hollywood. Together, they adopted two daughters from Vietnam, Amy and Joanna, during the 1970s. Andrews balanced her career with motherhood, often speaking of how important family was to her, even amid the pressures of fame. Heartbreak. The tragedy of losing her voice. One of the most heartbreaking chapters in Julie Andrews' life came in the late 1990s when she underwent surgery to remove non-cancerous nodules from her vocal cords. The surgery went wrong, and her legendary voice, the very core of her identity and career, was severely damaged. She later described the experience as devastating, falling into a deep depression. But even in this low point, Andrews found purpose again, advocating for vocal health awareness, penning heartfelt memoirs, and embracing new creative paths. She sued the doctors involved and used her settlement to fund research and arts education programs. Her grace in the face of loss revealed a strength that inspired even more admiration. Books. The author behind the actress. Though many know her as an actress, Julie Andrews is also a prolific author, especially of children's literature. With her daughter Emma, she co-authored more than 30 books, including The Very Fairy Princess series Mandy, 1971, a beloved children's novel, the last of the really great Wangdoodles thanks to you. Wisdom from Mother and Child. Her books reflect her belief in the power of imagination, kindness, and resilience, the same values that defined her roles on screen. She also published 2 acclaimed memoirs, Home, a memoir of my early years, 2008, Homework, a memoir of my Hollywood years, 2019. These works are candid, beautifully written, and deeply moving, revealing her personal struggles, triumphs, and her behind-the-scenes journey through fame. Studio microphone. A voice that never went silent. Though Julie could no longer sing as she once did, she never fully left performance behind. Her voice became iconic in a different way, through narration. She lent her voice to Queen Lillian in Shrek 2, 3, and forever after Lady Whistledown. The sharp and mysterious narrator of Netflix's Bridgerton, several children's audiobooks, and PBS specials. Her voice, calm yet commanding, has continued to enchant listeners, proof that even when silenced musically, her presence still resonates. A global icon with timeless influence, Julie Andrews is universally respected, across generations and cultures. Her influence touches actors and singers, who cite her as a role model for elegance, vocal discipline, and stagecraft. Young girls, who grew up singing Do-Re-Mi, or dreaming of floating through the skies with an umbrella. Writers who admire her storytelling warmth and sincerity. Viewers around the world, who see her not just as an actress, but as a symbol of grace, resilience, and joy. She's also praised for how she's aged in the public eye, with dignity, humor, and purpose. Glowing star Julie Andrews. Today, now in her late 80s, Dame Julie remains active. She continues to write, occasionally give interviews, and receive standing ovations wherever she appears. Her humor remains sharp, her wisdom deep, and her spirit as luminous as ever. When asked how she feels about her legacy, Julie once said, "I don't want to be remembered just for the movies. I want to be remembered as someone who tried to bring joy." She succeeded. Sparkle's final thoughts. The enduring magic of Julie Andrews. Few artists have had the cultural, emotional, and artistic impact that Julie Andrews has. Her journey, from a child prodigy in wartime Britain to one of the most beloved performers of all time, is a story of talent, courage, reinvention, and heart. She is Mary Poppins' wisdom, Maria's spirit, Queen Clarissa's grace, and at the same time, uniquely, profoundly herself, Julie Andrews. Julie Andrews. In popular culture, Julie Andrews isn't just admired, she's revered. Her work has become deeply woven into the cultural fabric of the 20th and 21st centuries. Her films are still played in schools, family homes, and theaters around the world. She is one of the rare performers whose work spans 8 decades, and whose legacy is both nostalgic and relevant. Mary Poppins, 1964, introduced generations to whimsical magic, optimism, and childhood wonder. The image of Andrews floating with her umbrella has become one of the most enduring movie visuals of all time. The Sound of Music, 1965, is still shown on television every holiday season, and its songs are sung in classrooms and choirs worldwide. My Favorite Things, Do-Re-Mi, and Climb Every Mountain are now cultural touchstones. The Princess Diaries, 2001 and 2004, reintroduced Andrews to Gen Z as a poised, funny, and loving royal grandmother, a different kind of queen, but just as magical. She is one of few stars to be iconic in 3 different eras. Golden Age of Hollywood, 1960s, New Hollywood and Broadway maturity, 1980s, 21st century family and voice acting roles, 2000s to 2020s. Mike. What other artists say about her? Julie Andrews has been praised by everyone from Broadway legends to pop stars to modern filmmakers. Lady Gaga performed a tribute to The Sound of Music at the Oscars in 2015, with Julie herself appearing on stage afterward to a standing ovation. Anne Hathaway called her the definition of grace, and said filming with Julie on The Princess Diaries was like being hugged by kindness itself. Lin-Manuel Miranda, of Hamilton, is a known Andrews fan, citing Mary Poppins as one of his earliest musical inspirations, and even starred in Mary Poppins Returns, a loving homage to her original. Julie has transcended star status. She's seen as the gold standard of elegance and class in the entertainment world. Brain lesser-known facts about Julie Andrews. Here are a few delightful and surprising facts you may not know. Gem real singing range. In her youth, Julie had a 4-octave range, which is extremely rare. Her soprano was described as both powerful and angelic. Open book published under a pen name. She sometimes wrote children's books under the name Julie Edwards, her married name from her first husband. High-heel burlesque humor, despite her prim and proper image. Julie has a famously cheeky sense of humor. In S.O.B. 1981, she shocked audiences by briefly going topless, a deliberate move to challenge her wholesome typecasting. TV variety queen. In the 1960s and 70s, she starred in multiple Emmy-winning variety specials, showcasing her singing, comedy, and acting versatility. Thread sewed her own costumes during her early years in theater. She often helped with costumes and set work, a testament to her work ethic and humility. Dove philosophy and legacy. Julie Andrews is more than a star, she is a teacher, a mentor, and a beacon of perseverance. After losing her singing voice, she could have quietly disappeared from the spotlight. Instead, she pivoted with grace, saying, "Sometimes opportunities float right past your nose. Work hard, apply yourself, and be ready. When an opportunity comes, you can grab it." Her legacy is a reminder that beauty can be kind, strength can be quiet, fame can be dignified, reinvention is possible at any age. Crown cultural symbol and living legend. Julie Andrews symbolizes an ideal that transcends generations. She is associated with kindness without weakness, strength without bitterness, talent without ego, fame without scandal. She's not just a figure in cinema history, she's a touchstone for goodness. The kind of celebrity who restores people's faith in the idea that good people can succeed. Trophy summary. Why the world still loves Julie Andrews. She defined musical cinema in its golden era. She touched hearts with her humanity, both on-screen and off. She survived loss and turned pain into purpose. She keeps inspiring young artists, writers, and dreamers. And through it all, she remains, as ever, a class act. The artistry of Julie Andrews. Julie Andrews' artistry is rooted not only in talent but in deep discipline, intelligence, and empathy. She never sought attention for scandal or spectacle. Her power came from the precision of her voice, the clarity of her diction, and the warmth of her eyes. In every role, from the mischievous Mary Poppins to the tender Maria von Trapp, she delivered more than performance. She delivered presence. Her voice wasn't just technically perfect, it carried meaning. Her movements were filled with purpose, her characters with soul. Directors have said she never played a role, she became a vessel for story, kindness, and hope. "I was never interested in being a glamour girl," she once said. "I just wanted to do my job really well." Compass mentor, matriarch, and guide. Julie Andrews has become a symbol of mentorship in film and literature. While she never ran an acting school or a formal workshop, she has mentored through example. On The Princess Diaries, younger actors like Anne Hathaway said she gave advice, shared stories, and created an environment of kindness and professionalism. As an author, she encourages young readers to believe in themselves, showing through fiction how curiosity and empathy are superpowers. Her memoirs are not just reflections, they're masterclasses in resilience, especially for women in the arts. Her voice is now often heard in narrations, fairy tales, and children's audiobooks, making her a kind of global grandmother, gently guiding new generations through story and imagination. Movie camera Julie Andrews. In the history of cinema, in the grand narrative of film history, Julie Andrews stands as one of the most influential women in cinema. Her name appears alongside legends like Audrey Hepburn, Judy Garland, Katharine Hepburn, Meryl Streep, but she holds a unique place, the rare actress whose screen image merged joy, discipline, song, and soul. She is one of the few performers who starred in two of the most iconic musicals of all time, successfully transitioned across stage, film, television, voice acting, and literature, was beloved by children, critics, and royalty alike, and through it all, she avoided scandal, ego, and cynicism, something almost unheard of in an industry that often demands it. Love letter Julie Andrews. And the emotional memory of generations to millions of people around the world, Julie Andrews is not just a celebrity. She is a memory. She's the first song you remember singing with your parents. She's the face of your family movie nights. She's the comfort voice on rainy days. She's the first time you saw a woman be magical and maternal, or strong and gentle, all at once. People don't just admire her. They love her, deeply, personally, as if she's part of their family. Because in a way, she is. That's the kind of artist Julie Andrews is, one who doesn't just perform, but lives in people's hearts. Speech balloon quotes that define her spirit: perseverance is failing 19 times and succeeding the 20th. Julie Andrews: I'm never sure whether I'm an actress who sings or a singer who acts. Julie Andrews: behave honorably, work hard, and don't let the bastards grind you down. Advice she gives to young performers: sometimes I try to do too much. I push myself very hard. And I want things to be perfect. A glimpse of the pressure behind her poise. These words reveal not just her work ethic, but her humanity. She's more than poise and polish. She's also someone who worked through pain, doubt, and exhaustion, and still brought joy to the world. Glowing star: why Julie Andrews still matters today in a fast, loud, attention-hungry world. Julie Andrews stands for something different. Elegance without arrogance, joy without irony, wisdom without cruelty, legacy without ego. She teaches us that quiet power can last longer than noise. And that art made with love, skill, and sincerity never goes out of style. Candle final reflection: the light she leaves behind. Julie Andrews is not just a name in film history. She's an emotional landmark, a place people return to when they need beauty, comfort, or clarity. In a world that often loses itself in cynicism, she remains a North Star, proof that talent, grace, and goodness can coexist, that art still matters, that stories still heal. And perhaps most of all, she reminds us that the most magical people are often the most real. A moral compass in show business: Julie Andrews has always stood out in Hollywood, not only for her immense talent but for her unshakable sense of self. In an industry known for reinvention, compromise, and ego, she chose integrity. She never sought scandal. She never chased controversy. Her strength lay in restraint, purpose, and truth. Even at the height of her fame in the 1960s, she said no to projects that didn't align with her values. She could have become just another starlet, lost in the machinery of fame. Instead, she became a compass, someone audiences and peers could look to and say, "That's how you do it right." Old woman aging with grace, not as a role, but a revolution. Hollywood does not treat women gently with age, especially not women who became icons of beauty and innocence. But Julie Andrews redefined what aging in public could look like. Instead of fading into nostalgia, she transitioned into new forms, a loving grandmother figure in The Princess Diaries, a commanding, invisible narrator in Bridgerton, a powerful voice in literature and audiobooks, a voice of compassion in interviews and memoirs. Andrews never clung to her past image. She evolved with dignity, showing that maturity is not something to fear but to honor. "I don't miss the spotlight," she said in a 2021 interview. "I'm happy to pass it on. I had my turn. What a rare thing. A star who knows when to step back and still shines while doing it." Dove loss, reinvention, and the soul of resilience. Let's pause here to reflect on her most vulnerable moment, losing her voice. For someone whose voice was the core of her identity, career, and expression, this was not just a physical loss. It was an existential one. Imagine, you are one of the greatest vocalists in history, and one day, it's gone. That would break most people. But Julie Andrews refused to let silence define her. She turned pain into purpose. She sued, yes, but more importantly, she transformed. From singer to storyteller, from performer to writer, from icon to mentor, she once said, "I had to find a new voice, even if it wasn't the one I was born with." And she did. Her story became not just about talent, but about transcendence. Global humanity. Why the whole world loves her. Julie Andrews is one of the few stars whose fame crosses generations, continents, and cultures. In India, children learn Do Re Mi before they learn English. In Vietnam and Japan, she is seen as a mother figure. In America and Britain, she is royalty, not just because she played queens, but because she carries herself like one. Even in places where people don't know English well, they know the music, and more importantly, the feeling she brought to the screen. She has become a kind of global emotional landmark. When the world feels heavy, people go back to Julie Andrews. Crystal ball. The spiritual essence of Julie Andrews. If her legacy could be distilled into a single spiritual truth, it might be this: be kind, be true, be better than what the world expects. Julie's life teaches us, you can lead without force. You can shine without stepping on others. You can suffer and still smile. You can lose the thing you love most, and still create beauty after. In many ways, she's more than an actress. She's a spiritual artist, someone whose work heals, centers, and uplifts. Candle. Julie Andrews is not just a star, she's a sanctuary. Her body of work, Mary Poppins, The Sound of Music, Victor, Victoria, The Princess Diaries, her books, her voice, these are not just entertainment. They are places of comfort, soft corners in a harsh world. Millions of people return to her not just for fun, but for safety, hope, and a reminder of goodness. Julie Andrews is a rare kind of artist. She doesn't just give joy, she becomes it. Checkered flag. Closing words. If her life were a song, if Julie Andrews' life were a song, it would begin as a brilliant soprano soaring through innocence and imagination, drift into silence through pain and reflection, and then return, wiser, deeper, gentler, with a melody that no longer needs to be sung, because it lives in every heart she's touched. Julie Andrews as archetype. The eternal muse Julie Andrews represents something rare in storytelling and film, a living archetype. She is the nurturer. In her roles as Maria and Queen Clarice, the mentor, through her wisdom and grace in later life, the magician, transforming despair into joy with a spoonful of sugar, the survivor, who kept walking through loss with quiet dignity. She doesn't just play these roles, she embodies them. To many, she is not just a woman or a performer, she is a symbol of healing. Like a folktale passed from generation to generation. Dizzy. The Julie effect. How she lives in people's lives. Julie Andrews doesn't live in history books or behind a velvet rope of fame. She lives in The child who finds courage singing, "I have confidence," the adult who finds peace listening to her read bedtime stories, the widow who returns to the sound of music on a quiet night to remember better times, the voice actor, teacher, or artist who learned from her poise that art and character must go hand in hand. This is what we call the Julie effect, the deeply personal, quiet transformation she brings into ordinary lives. She doesn't just entertain. She accompanies us, like music you didn't know you needed until it started playing. Sun behind cloud, Julie. In the idea of grace, there is a quiet, unspoken power in grace, and no one has carried it more clearly than Julie Andrews. Grace is strength without anger, dignity without superiority, intelligence without ego, light without noise. Julie has been many things: a child star, a Broadway queen, a Hollywood icon, a heartbroken singer, a quiet author, but through all of them, she has been grace itself. She is not famous in spite of being gracious, she is beloved because of it. Scroll. She wrote her life like a poem. Julie Andrews is one of the rare stars who lived her life like literature, with a beginning full of wonder, a middle marked by trials and transformation, a quiet but luminous third act of reflection and storytelling. Even her silences have weight. Even the pauses in her career feel like intentional commas, not endings. In her memoirs, Home and Homework, she opens the door to her past with vulnerability, showing us the girl who sang in air raid shelters, the teenager who traveled alone for theater, the mother who quietly fought for her adopted daughters, the widow who nursed her husband through illness, then carried on with hope. Her life isn't just inspiring, it's nourishing. Globe. Julie Andrews as a global cultural bridge. Few artists have the rare power to cross cultures without translation. Julie Andrews does. Why? Because kindness, music, and storytelling are universal. In Japan, she's known as a symbol of gentleness and honor. In Latin America, La Novicia Rebelde, the sound of music, is a household name. In Europe, her performances are considered part of the golden age of cinema. In Africa and Southeast Asia, her voice has reached classrooms and televisions for decades. She is not an English-speaking star. She is a global storyteller. Face mask, the invisible performance. Her greatest role may not be Mary Poppins or Maria, but the one she played off camera. The grieving artist who stayed kind, the icon who never turned bitter, the aging woman who remained joyful. She never performed her pain, but you can feel it behind her eyes. That's the mark of someone who's lived a full life, and chosen still to be light. Love letter. What she teaches us from her, we learn. You can sing and still be serious. You can smile and still be strong. You can age and still be relevant. You can lose what defines you, and still define yourself again. She teaches not through instruction, but through example. Through elegance. Through silence filled with presence. Shooting star. If the world were a stage. If the world were a stage, and we all played our parts, Julie Andrews would be the voice that opens the curtain with a song, the spirit who steadies the cast when things fall apart, the gentle hand that writes the final lines in peace, and when the curtain finally falls, she wouldn't need a spotlight. The entire theater would glow, because she was in it. Julie Andrews, not just a woman, but a prayer. Some people live loudly. Some live with fire. Julie Andrews lives like a prayer, soft, steady, enduring, whispered across decades. She is the breath before the song, the pause in the chaos, the gentle voice in your childhood memory, the elegance that doesn't need to explain itself. She does not demand reverence, and yet, it follows her. Why? Because she reminds us not of what is trendy, but of what is true. Sparkles. She represents what we're losing, and what we hope to keep. Julie Andrews is a living reminder of what much of the modern world forgets: that beauty doesn't have to scream. That art can be timeless without being trendy. That femininity can be strong. That kindness can outlast cruelty. That elegance can survive the internet. She's the antidote to the digital noise. The quiet space between one breath and the next, where grace still lives. Hibiscus, the flower that refused to wither. What is most astonishing about Julie Andrews is not just her rise, but her ability to remain. She could have stopped after Mary Poppins. She could have retired after losing her voice. She could have retreated into memory, into reruns, into nostalgia. But she didn't. Instead, she re-bloomed, differently, more quietly, but just as beautifully, as a narrator, lending warmth to stories not her own. As a writer, giving children new worlds to believe in. As a presence, not a performer, who shows up not with applause but with wisdom. Julie Andrews is a flower that learned to grow in shade and somehow became even more radiant. Thought balloon. What Julie means. When you whisper her name for a child, she means magic. For a teenager, she means escape. For an adult, she means memory.
Bye bye. Thanks for watching. Bye.